It's that time again. Main Man T. Back for the Bro Code Podcast. Produced by Kennedy Lucas.
What's good, fam? You are now tuned into the Bro Code Podcast, the realest podcast in the game, where the mics stay hot and the convo stays even hotter. It's your boy, Terry Lester. Hold it down as always, bringing you the codes, the truths, and the laughs you didn't even know you needed today. Today is May 23rd, 2025, and this ain't just any episode. Nah, this one's got that special flavor, that extra heat, because I got a legend in the booth with me today. That's right, he's a mogul, a creator, the mind behind K.L.P. Entertainment, and your favorite host. Kennedy Lucas is in the building, y'all.
Y'all know vibes. It's your boy Kennedy Lucas, and we about to cook up something serious on the mic today. Terry, let's give him that unfiltered grown man talk with a twist of genius, because this is Bro Code, and we ain't holding back nothing.
Facts, bro. Today we're getting to everything from grind culture and loyalty to wild headlines, real relationships, and what it really means to move like a boss in 2025. You already know. It's for the fellas, for the ladies, and for everybody that lives by the code.
So lock in, grab your drink, or hit that gym set. Whatever you do, stay tapped in. We're here to talk our talk, walk our walk, and maybe stir the pot just a little bit.
Bro Code Podcast starts right now, Kennedy, with some sport highlights. The Minnesota Timberwolves were reeling at the end of February. They just lost to the league's worst team, the Utah Jazz, in a game in which Anthony Edwards was suspended for exceeding the NBA's technical foul limit. They were stuck with 32-29 record, 9th in the West, and their big offseason trade of Karl Anthony Towns for Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo looked like a bust. In sum, Minnesota had seemingly regressed from upstart conference finalist to also-ran, and the franchise was dealing with an ongoing ownership dispute for good measure. But in March, a switch flipped inside the Target Center. Over the rest of the regular season, the Timberwolves went 17-4, rising out of the play-in morass to the no. 6th seed, they beat the Los Angeles Lakers and Golden State Warriors in 5 games apiece, eliminating LeBron James, Luka Doncic, Jimmy Butler III, and the injured Stephen Curry along the way, to return to the Western Conference Finals. They even resolved their long-simmering ownership fracas. And although the Timberwolves lost Game 1 of the conference finals in a blowout against the no. 1 seed Oklahoma City Thunder, they've proved they aren't your average no. 6th seed. Instead, they have a solid chance to become just the 3rd no. 6th seed in NBA history to reach the championship round, joining the 1995 Houston Rockets, who won the finals, and the 1981 Rockets, who lost there, ahead of Game 2 of the West Finals, 8:30 p.m. ESPN, let's examine how the Timberwolves turned their season around, the stars who have stepped up, and how exactly the top-seeded Thunder took it all away. From March 1st, the Timberwolves had the second-best record, 17-4, and point differential, plus 11.4, in the NBA. To be fair, they benefited from an easy schedule. According to ESPN Analytics, Minnesota had the league's second easiest schedule in March and April, and the average team would have been expected to post a plus 2.6 point differential in that stretch. Still, Minnesota's plus 8.8 schedule-adjusted point differential over that span, 11.4 minus 2.6, would have rated near the top of the league. The Timberwolves' late-season surge was more a reflection of their strengths than their opponents' weaknesses. The fuel that powered that surge was a surprise, though. Since trading for Rudy Gobert in 2022, the Timberwolves have generally embraced a defensive identity. Last season, they led the league in defensive rating, but ranked just 17th on offense. So when their defense declined from elite to merely good this season, the team tumbled in the standings. Minnesota's defense didn't change much during the hot streak. It ranked 6th through February and 7th in March and April. But the team's offensive rank rose from 13th at the end of February to 2nd in March and April. Only the Thunder scored more efficiently than Minnesota over that span. The Timberwolves' offense improved in large part because of success at the rim. During their 21-game surge, the Timberwolves took the fewest mid-range shots in the league, per cleaning the glass, as they made more concerted effort to attack the basket. That approach is carried over to playoffs, where Minnesota ranks 2nd in rim rate, behind the Detroit Pistons, and last in mid-range frequency. Through the first 2 rounds of the playoffs, the Timberwolves generated the most points per 100 possessions off drives, according to Genius IQ, signaling their aggression inside the paint. They also improved on their finishing once they arrived at the rim. The Timberwolves ranked 21st in field goal percentage on dunks and layups before March, per Genius IQ, but they're up to 6th place since then. No player symbolizes the Timberwolves' rise better than Randall, who spent most of his debut season in Minnesota struggling to fill the void left by Towns' departure. Although Randall entered the season with a terrible playoff resume, across 2 postseason runs as a Knick, he shot 34% from the field and had more turnovers and assists. He had always been a reliable regular season presence. In his last 4 seasons in New York, Randall made 3 All-Star teams and received 2 All-NBA nods. But he's not a one-for-one replacement for Towns. Randall is a better playmaker than the 7-footer, but a much worse shooter who's more methodical on the ball. Until March, he struggled to mesh that novel skill set within Minnesota's existing offensive infrastructure, which typically defer to Edwards and Mike Conley to initiate actions. Yet, by the time he returned from a right adductor strain at the start of March, Randall had enough reps to fit in better, and he employed the classic time-tested shoot-better strategy, dramatically improving from both 2- and 3-point range. His hot streak had continued in the playoffs. Before March, Randall was averaging 0.92 points per isolation per Genius IQ, which ranked 53rd out of 64 players, with at least 150 isolations. But since then, Randall is averaging 1.12 points per isolation, which ranks 6th among 21 players with at least 150 plays, and places him next to star scorers like Jalen Brunson, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. The other former Knick who joined Randall in the trade also found his legs as the season went on. Through his first 25 games in Minnesota, DiVincenzo had made just 32% of his three-pointers, and though he rose to 37% by mid-January, a toe strain kept him out of the lineup for more than a month. But after DiVincenzo returned, he made a scorching 45% of his three-point tries, which was even better than the Timberwolves expected when they added him to their perimeter rotation last fall. All of a sudden, a once-rotten trade looked splendid, as all the key parts were flourishing for their new teams.
Here's the bad news for Minnesota, which has been the second best team in the NBA since March. The team with the best metrics since March, the Thunder, of course, with a 23 record and plus 13.3 point differential to close the regular season, while playing a much tougher schedule than Minnesota. That comparison underscores the difficult matchup the Timberwolves face in the conference finals. Even at their best, they still couldn't quite keep pace. In game 1 in the conference finals, Randall kept up his end of the bargain, scoring a team high 28 points on stellar 9 for 13. 1 assist versus 5 turnovers hurt his overall stat line. However, the Thunder shut off everything else that had powered Minnesota's offense over the past 2+ months. The Timberwolves scored just 20 points in the paint game 1, which is less than half their previous low in the postseason, and is tied for the lowest output for any team in a playoff game since 2016-17, according to NBA Advanced Stats. Because Oklahoma City's perimeter defenders are better than their counterparts on the Lakers and Warriors. The Thunder can stick with the Timberwolves' drivers, forcing awkward passes back out to the perimeter instead of high percentage attempts at the rim. They clog the paint. Edwards said after the game, that's what they do. They don't got much size down there, so they bank on us not making shots, I guess. Because every time I go to the rim, it's like 4 people in the paint. The Thunder are happy to surrender 3-pointers, ranking 28th in opponent 3-point rate in the regular season per cleaning the glass. And the Timberwolves are happy to take them, putting up 51-3 triples in game 1. Whether the Timberwolves can come back to upset the low 1C revenge on whether they can make the Thunder pay for that pro. Unfortunately, most of the shooters have gone cold at the wrong time. Even in series wins against the Lakers and Warriors, Minnesota won despite its poor 3-point shooting. The 5 Timberwolves who take threes other than Edwards and Randall, DiVincenzo, Conley, Jaden McDaniels, Nasria, Nicky Alexander-Walker, shot a collective 38 free distance in the regular season, but have declined to 32 in the playoffs. Out of 48 players who have attempted at least 43-pointers in the playoffs, Conley ranks 43rd, Alexander Walker ranks 46th, and DiVincenzo ranks 48th in quantified shot making per Geniusic, which measures a player's actual shot accuracy compared to his expected accuracy. In theory, their luck should regress to the norm soon, meaning more made threes are on the way. But that backcourt trio combined to go just 6 for 26 from distance in game one against the Thunder, who were content to wall off the paint. And as Edward said, bank on Minnesota's ice cold shooter staying that way. For Minnesota to score enough to beat the Thunder and reach the first finals in franchise history, they must check 3 boxes. Randall must keep playing the best high-stakes basketball of his career. The role players must start shooting more like they did in the regular season. Edwards must fulfill his role as the leading star on this team. With Thunder present a rough matchup for him, however, and not just because with Lou Winstor, Payson Wallace, Jalen Williams, and Alex Caruso, they're well equipped to shadow his every move with multiple all-world defenders. Edwards took a major step forward beyond the arc this season as he led the league in total three-pointers with 320 and made 39.5 of his at his attempts, up from 35.3 before this year. But curiously, he struggled to convert his 2-point attempts. According to Genius Seat data, combining regular season and playoff stats, Edwards' accuracy ranks in the 27th percentile or worse on the restricted area. The key in the mid-range, the Thunder already have the best interior defense of the league. They allowed the lowest opposing field goal percentage at the rim this season and the fewest points in the paint. And if Edwards can't crack that shell, he won't be able to score enough to threaten them. Edwards expressed optimism after game one. Despite scoring only 18 points off 5 for 13 shooting in a game, his team lost by 26. I definitely got to shoot more, he said. I only took 13 shots. Got to go watch some film and pick it apart. We'll figure it out. The Timberwolves have a chance to do so. It's no fluke that they had the NBA's second best offense for such a long stretch, but the Thunder have one of the best defenses in NBA history, and nobody has figured out how to beat it yet. Now, Terry, I got to talk more on the New York Knicks. There is nothing like the sound of 19,812 people saying absolutely nothing, but thinking exactly the same thing. They yelled as Karl Anthony Towns went to the free throw line with 14 seconds left in the fourth quarter with a rapidly dwindling lead. They yelled as OG Anunoby stepped up the line with 7 seconds left, hoping that quiet would somehow help him focus and keep the rising collective dread at bay. But the quiet did little to stop what had become shockingly suddenly apparent. The New York Knicks were once again face to face with the ghosts of their playoff past. And frankly, it was a little on the nose, Reggie. Miller, the Knick killer from those playoff battles 30 years ago, was courtside again, this time on the call for TNT as the Indiana Pacers reenacted some of his greatest moments Wednesday night in game, won the Eastern Conference Finals at Madison Square Garden. He was there post-game pointing at Tyrese Halliburton after the brass young guard paid tribute to him by reenacting Miller's famous choke gesture from the end of Game 5 of the 1994 Eastern Conference Final, when he scored 25 of his game, high 39 points in the fourth quarter, and engaged in the legendary back and forth with Spike Lee that spawned a 30 for 30 winning time in 2010. Halliburton said he's watched that documentary probably 50 times growing up and had been waiting over the course of 2 separate playoff series for the right moment to reenact Miller's choke gesture in front of the MSG crowd. It's Miller saw it, right? So did all the Knicks legends who attended Wednesday night's game and spent 46 minutes thinking they were going to witness the exercising of some of those playoff demons, only to leave shaking their heads at the newest heartbreak they'll have to digest just a few minutes before Halliburton hit one of the cruelest bounce off the rim shots in NBA playoff history to tie the game at the end of regulation. The Knicks had shown all their franchise legends up on the Jumbotron. First Amari Stoudemire, then Carmelo Anthony, then John Starks, lateral Sprewell, Larry Johnson, Bernard King, Patrick Ewing, Stephon Marbury, Walt Clyde Frazier, and Baron Davis. There were others too. And celebrities like Timothy Allen, Larry David, and Ben Stiller. All of them knew the history of this rivalry, and at the moment it seemed the Knicks had finally built a large enough lead to show them on the big screen and let everyone applaud with a clear conscience. The Knicks led by 14 points with 2:51 to go in regulation. That, by most any measure, is a safe lead. That is when fans turn to each other and decide whether to leave early to beat the crowds. That is when thoughts of playoff ghosts finally quiet down. But the seeds of the Pacers' comeback had just started germinating. With 4:45 to go, Brunson stumbled trying to fight through a ton, and Bryant screening at the top of the key, leaving Aaron Nesmith open for a three-pointer. Nobody thought much of it at the time. But afterward, Brunson said he felt that's when the game started to turn. Halliburton's game-tying two-pointer landed like an anvil in the pits of everyone's stomach. Overtime was just a whole bunch of indigestion.
That's true, Kennedy. Now, we asked a question that everyone has. Are the NBA playoffs too physical? Have the refs actually lost control? Here's what the data says. On Monday, AS, the Oklahoma City Thunder prepare to open their Western Conference Finals series against the visiting Minnesota Timberwolves. Thunder coach Mark Daigneault sat at a table facing reporters and addressed a question about one of the most consequential storylines of the playoffs: the officiating, or the perceived lack thereof. The specific query focused on Timberwolves coach Chris Finch and whether Finch might try to influence the officiating through his comments to media. Finch had seemingly done so after a matchup between the two teams in the regular season, saying after a win against the Thunder in February, "It's so frustrating to play this team because they foul a ton. They really do. They foul all the time. And then you can't really touch shy Gilgeous-Alexander. It's a very frustrating thing, and it takes a lot of mental toughness to play through it." Did Daigneault prepare for potential gamesmanship? Did he prepare his team? Daigneault was blunt in his response. "We prepare the team for the games. First of all," Daigneault said. "I said this in the Denver series because it came up there too. Teams, players. Coaches are going to use the media to try to influence the whistle as a competitive advantage. The margins are thin in the playoffs. Everyone is looking for an advantage. Some teams will go to that to do that." Daigneault went on to say of the officials, "If they're influenced by anything that anybody says in the media, they shouldn't be working the Western Conference Finals." The annual discourse about officiating, especially in the postseason, is not new. What is new this season is its intensity. From coaches complaining about discrepancies to players wondering out loud whether the league has lost control. From his post as the NBA's Vice President of Referee Development and Training, Monty McCutchen evaluates such comments from coaches and players, whether made publicly or privately, and he tries to discern between potential gamesmanship, influencing officiating, and valid concerns, a delicate balance. "It's my job to understand when there's validity to the complaints," McCutchen told ESPN. "What I don't and can't do is influence a series. When coaches are right, I'm comfortable enough in my own skin to admit it, and then it's my job to transfer that to the group." McCutchen made clear that there's nothing on the league's end that indicates that these playoffs are more physical or are being officiated any differently than in prior years. "For me, it feels par for the course," McCutchen said. "It feels very similar, and our analytics show that it's similar to past years." McCutchen says that there's been no shift in officiating, that no mandate has been given. "There's no light switch that we turn on from a management or lead perspective that says absolutely we're going to let the playoffs be more physical," he said. Lying on the court, Boston Celtics star Jaylen Brown writhed in pain, holding his left hand. His teammates gathered around him. It was the second quarter of Game 3 of the Celtics' first-round series against the Orlando Magic, and Brown had just driven to the rim against Magic guard Cole Anthony. When Brown tried to elevate for a shot, Anthony pulled him to the ground. Brown landed hard, dislocating his left index finger. Anthony was called for a flagrant foul, the third against the Magic in as many games. The first, in Game 1, injured the right wrist of Celtics star Jason Tatum. The second, in Game 2, split open the forehead of big man Kristaps Porzingis. After Game 3, Brown, who was already nursing a knee injury, fumed. "There might be a fight breakout or something because it's starting to feel like it's not even basketball, and the refs are not controlling their environment," the 2024 NBA Finals MVP said. "But in reality, teams are going to free throw line more, not less. Consider that a team's free throw rate is a percentage of shots resulting in free throw attempts. This season's rate was 24.3%. In the postseason, that number has jumped to 26.9%, the largest increase between the regular season and the playoffs since 2012 to 13. "There is zero doubt that the playoffs are more intense," McCutchen said, "and I think that we treat intense and physicality as synonyms when there's nuance between them. Most certainly, intensity can create physicality, and I wouldn't deny that, but I do think that the intensity of the playoffs is so vastly different than the regular season." McCutchen added that in the playoffs, teams' familiarity with their opponents can lead to increased physicality. They scout each other intensely. They adjust frequently, knowing where people are going to be at. "Everything about that sense of familiarity brings bodies closer together," he said. Still, despite the statistics, the narrative remains. After the Golden State Warriors defeated the Minnesota Timberwolves in Game 1 of the Western Conference semis, Finch stood at the lectern again. We'll certainly try to take justice into our own hands whenever we can. I think that's the nature of a physical sport. But by the same token, my God, you should see some of these clips, he said. They look like pulling guards and linemen out there just taking shots at Rudy Gobert. Warriors coach Steve Kerr didn't hold back either. They were bear-hugging Steph, and they could have called 6 fouls. But the league has established a physicality in the playoffs, he said. Finch talked about it last week, just the overall physicality. To me, it's crazy out there what's happening. I got my complaints too. Trust me, we all do. And this is how it works in the playoffs. We watch the tape. We see all the fouls on them that aren't called. They watch the tape. They see all the ones on us that weren't called. It's a physical game. Refereeing is always slightly behind innovation, McCutcheon said, because we start to see something and then have to grow into what we're seeing. In 2023, officials had recognized a growing trend. Offensive players would drive from the wing toward the free throw line, and they would frequently drive into the outside shoulder of the defensive player running parallel with them, creating contact and pressuring referees to call a foul. As soon as we got back from Christmas break, McCutcheon said, we started developing a playlist of 30 or 40 of these, where offensive players were just baiting defensive players in the foul by driving to their outside shoulder and then picking the ball up and looking like they were off balance. By January 2024, the list of plays grew to around 50, and it started spreading to officials around the league. By mid-February, officials started adjusting. In terms of straight-line parallel plays, we got really lax about it. McCutcheon said, offensive players were out-innovating us, I would say, so we really honed in on that straight-line pathway. And in mid-April of 2024, Silver noted the change. That was a point of emphasis on behalf of the league. Silver said at an NBA Board of Governors news conference, we were transparent with our teams about that. Again, everyone can see what's happening on the floor and make their own judgments about the calls being made. So, yes, there was a bit of an adjustment made along the way. Team free throws per game dropped each month in the 2023-24 season, starting from 23.2 in November then to 19.7 in March, making the first time since 2005 to 2006 that free throw attempts per game dropped over the course of 4 straight months. On April 9, 2024, the Celtics became the first team in NBA history to attempt 0 free throws in a game. In that same game, the Bucks and Celtics combined for 2 free throw attempts, the fewest in a game in NBA history. That particular change carried over into the 2024 postseason, where teams averaged 20.3 free throw attempts, the fewest ever in a postseason. The previous fewest was 21.4 in 1973-74. This season, teams averaged 21.7 free throw attempts per game, the fewest in a season in NBA history. But teams also averaged 37.6 three-pointers per game, the most in a season in NBA history. Put another way, teams are launching from deep more than ever, which leads to fewer opportunities for contact in the lane. But McCutcheon said the change from last season has held. What we're trying to find is this balance between skill and legal physicality, he said. And for sure we've made that conscious choice over the last 18 months or so to allow for defenses to have a fair shot provided they get to that spot first. After 25 years of officiating NBA games, McCutcheon often watches games from home or sometimes, if Kane Fitzgerald, vice president of the league's referee operations, needs a rest, at the league's replay center in Secaucus, New Jersey. I watch the games with an intense eye, he said. He takes notes. He looks at how referees show growth. He also takes messages and phone calls from teams. When the team calls me and they say, hello, I want to talk about tonight, I say, happy to do that. Would you like me to get the other team on the line so that we can have that discussion? Now, often they don't want to have that conversation at that point, McCutcheon explained. And that's fair too. Any email, anything that gets corresponded in the playoffs, it is cut and copied and put into an email to the opposing team and says, per our transparency protocols, here's what's been asked. We will circle back with an answer to both of you about these 2 plays, or whatever it might be. And so there is no lobbying that we allow one team to have over another. Each team is different in how they go about that. and we can't have that imbalance at this time of the year. And I'm very strict about that because I believe in fairness. I believe it's the core value of competition. When a team sends in clips that would like to be reviewed, McCutchen said he doesn't forward them to the officiating crew that is working the next game in that series and does not instruct the crew members to adjust their officiating. We do not put our foot on the scale that way, McCutchen said. We have standards that we hold NBA referees to, and if those individuals didn't live up to those standards, then those people are held accountable. But I am not calling crews ahead of time. That's highly unethical. My job is to educate, improve. If we need to have talks in between rounds before series begin, then we try to do those kinds of things if needed, but I don't put my foot on the scale in a series. Teams don't always believe that. When McCutchen's remarks were shared with an NBA coach who was granted anonymity in order to speak freely, he said it all seemed fair. I think they try their best to do the job, and it's a brutal job, he said. It's really, really hard. The pressure on the league to call plays correctly has never been higher, the coach said. So you see more and more replay added year after year. The league has tried desperately to get everything right in a sport where it's impossible to do so. But I will reiterate, I think they have a really, really hard job.
Now, turning the page from sports to the latest in gaming news, Terry, PlayStation will reportedly host a State of Play live stream in June, bringing fans up to speed on its slate of forthcoming game releases. If these rumors turn out to be true, it would mark PlayStation breaking away from its pattern of organizing such events in the month of May. For the past few years, PlayStation has held either a State of Play or a showcase in May, routinely sharing fresh information with fans about its future projects. In the same month in 2024, several major games such as God of War Ragnarok's PC port, Silent Hill 2, and Monster Hunter Wilds made their appearance at the State of Play. Based on this theory, many fans have been expecting a similar event this time around as well. However, most of the month over in PlayStation having already made an important Ghost of Yotei announcement in April, some have been speculating that the schedule may be different this year, which the latest insider reports have also come to corroborate. According to insider Jeff Grubb, a PlayStation event is confirmed to take place in June. Contrary to initial expectations, while Grubb was certain about the window for a highly anticipated live stream, he held back from mentioning any specific date, even though it didn't seem clear if the event in question was a full-fledged PlayStation showcase or a smaller State of Play. He suggested that the latter was the likelier possibility, and in a reply to his tweet said that it was an informed guess. This appears to indicate a change in plans at the gaming giant. Earlier in February, Grubb had revealed that PlayStation was contemplating holding its first showcase since 2023 in summer 2025. Despite PlayStation randomly dropping Ghost of Yotei's release date in April, there are still a few projects that it could give a sit rep on in a potential State of Play live stream. This bracket includes one of the publisher's most highly anticipated first-party titles, Marvel's Wolverine by Insomniac Games, which hasn't received many updates since its big reveal in late 2021. Another Sony-backed game that could appear at the rumored event is Housemarque's Dead Sorrows, which was unveiled at February State of Play, while enthusiasts were eagerly awaiting a State of Play stream. Sony announced earlier this week the planned end of its PlayStation Stars Rewards program, which came out in 2022. Given its 3-year-long run so far, it's fair to assume that a certain number of fans may be upset over the news. So it appears that PlayStation may have the perfect opportunity to make up for that by dropping a big announcement at its rumored State of Play next month.
Kennedy, I know we both are X-Men fans. Get this, the X-Men reboot's working title hints at the live-action debut of fan-favorite Marvel character. The MCU has several projects on the way, with Avengers, Doomsday filming now, Spider-Man, Brand New Day set to begin production in the Fantastic Four, first steps following Thunderbolts Asterisk in the theaters this summer. However, one film they're known to be developing is the reboot of the X-Men film series. The working title for the MCU's X-Men reboot movie has reportedly been revealed, and it hints at the live-action debut of a beloved Marvel Comics character. Many X-Men characters from the Fox era films are set to appear in Avengers. Doomsday, Alan Cumming is reprising his role as Nightcrawler, Ian McKellen is returning as Magneto, and Kelsey Grammer will be back as his iteration of Beast from X-Men, The Last Stand. Rumors have even been circulating that photos show Patrick Schwarzenegger as Cyclops on the set of Doomsday, but that has not been confirmed. Thunderbolts Asterisk director Jake Schreier is said to be the frontrunner in adapting X-Men for the MCU, with a script penned by The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes writer Michael Leslie. While the film may be some years away, the working title has reportedly been revealed. According to the Cosmic Circus, the project is being developed under the name Channel. Channel is a term used to refer to the Channel Tunnel that connects England and France. It is a train tunnel running under the English Channel, and while it may seem odd, it does have a direct connection to an X-Men story. Channel may be an act of misdirection on Marvel's part to thwart spoilers by spreading misinformation, as working titles can be vague, and in some cases, not connected to the final plot. The film may undergo numerous changes before its debut, potentially making the working title irrelevant to its original purpose. However, if Channel proves to be a direct reference to the story the X-Men reboot is set to tell, it may point to a specific story that utilizes a tunnel. In new X-Men #129-130, Professor Xavier and Jean Grey aid Phantom X. They learn that a train wreck in the tunnel was faked, so it could be turned into a training ground where Weapon 12 battles mutants. Phantom X asks for the X-Men's assistance in dispatching Weapon 12, which sees Xavier and Jean accompany him to the tunnel, where they battle the creatures that have overrun it. This storyline could influence the reboot if Channel proves to be an inspiration, which means Phantom X may be set for his live-action debut, as he was first introduced in New X-Men number 128. Phantom X is the most common moniker given to Weapon 13 or Charlie Cluster 7 in Marvel Comics. His origins and powers make him quite unique. He was born from a human mother and a machine, making him a mutant cyborg, as part of the Weapon Plus program's experimental attempts at techno-human hybrid super soldiers. Phantom X was also forced into an accelerated development that saw him artificially evolve in a virtual reality world. He has 3 brains capable of simultaneous independent thought, and his nervous system is a detachable techno-organism named EVA, who also has abilities, making Phantom X a complex character. In addition to being a highly skilled fighter, Phantom X is an excellent marksman, and his heightened senses complement his skill set as a master thief. He also possesses a healing ability, much like Wolverine and Deadpool, who were products of similar experiments. However, Phantom X has added pain suppression and the ability to heal faster in self-induced trances. Phantom X's most notable ability is creating realistic illusions to deceive people, much like Spider-Man's Mysterio, which he routinely uses to his advantage. Phantom X is a frequent X-Men collaborator who is often more of an anti-hero. The character has even been part of ensemble teams, like in Rick Remender's Uncanny X-Force, where he was a central part of the team, alongside Psylocke, Deadpool, and Wolverine, who acted as leader. Phantom X has even appeared in the Marvel Strike Force video game, helping bring the character to new audiences. If the Channel working title hints at Phantom X's live-action debut, other circulating rumors may yet prove true. Rumors have seen names like Margaret Qualley for Rogue and Cynthia Erivo for Storm. Those remain unconfirmed, but the X-Men reboot may be set to be the film debut of more than just Phantom X, as current word says the script includes the team's long-running foe, Mr. Sinister. Mr. Sinister, aka Nathaniel Essex, is one of the X-Men's darkest villains. He often experiments on mutants in attempts to create a superior race, with much of his work involving cloning. His darkest moment also earned him his name. His wife dubbed him Sinister for his experiments on their son's corpse. The character almost jumped from comics to movie screens in The New Mutants, which heavily references the Essex Corporation, but that never came to fruition. That's a wrap for today's episode of the Bro Code Podcast. Man, we hit y'all with some real gems, real laughs, and real talk, just like we do every single time. Big shout out to my brother in the booth today, the one and only Kennedy Lucas. Hold it down like a true co-host should.
Appreciate you, Top. You already know, anytime I get a mic, it's go time. This episode, we gave them all the real and the righteous. That bro code energy was all the way up today.
Facts. So whether you riding through the city, grind at work, or just vibing out of home, thank you for tapping with us. Don't forget, the code is sacred, and if you rock with us, you part of the brotherhood for life.
Real talk. Hit that follow, leave that review, and tell your cousin, your homie, your barber, your side hustle, and your main job. The Bro Code Podcast is the way.
We'll be back with more heat, more convo, and more codes to live by. Until next time, keep it real, keep it solid, and always respect the code.
It's that time again. Main Man T. Back for the Bro Code Podcast. Produced by Kennedy Lucas.